Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Print on Demand cast, episode 88. And as always, I am joined by the co-host of the Print on Demand cast, Travis Ross. Finger guns. How's it going? How's your Monday been? How was your weekend? Let's start there. How was your weekend?
Fun, I guess. What did we do this weekend?
Question
we did things and stuff. It was enjoyable. Saw The Lost City yesterday.
How was that?
It was funny.
That's with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock.
Yep, very. It's worth it. It's definitely not like I have to go to the movies, but we kind of owed our middle son and his girlfriend a date because it was like a birthday, kind of a post celebration for a birthday. So we took him out for dinner and then took him to the movie. And that was the one that we picked. So yeah, had a fun time and then came to Make a Mark Design today. And about 10:30, 11 o'clock, both of our toilets decided to
That's right.
give up the ghost.
Yeah, they just quit.
Yeah. So it's been a fun Monday. Just they unlocked a empty unit 2 units down from us, so we'd have bathrooms, which was awesome. Sweet G, it's us. And that was awesome that we had the ability to use the restrooms today, because that would have sucked.
That would have been awful if we didn't.
What about you?
My weekend was good. Went to Montana to spend some time with family over the week. And my next couple weeks, I guess just this next weekend is also travel heavy, but last weekend hopped on a flight to go to Billings, Montana from Denver, which if you're wondering how long the flight is, it's about this long. You take off and it's the bing, you may now use large electronics and take them, blah blah blah. We'll be offering drinks. Bing, our service has ended. You are descending into Billings, Montana. So it was like an hour and 6-minute flight. I was able to get about 20 minutes into Batman, the new one, and see if it was so far so good. I like it, but it's 3 hours long, so I'm taking it chunks at a time because it's incredibly long and it's kind of a slow burn. But yeah, just hung out in an Airbnb, had a great steak dinner, downtown Billings, had a great steakhouse there, watched a movie called Velocipaster, which if you're wondering if it sounds as ridiculous as you think it does, the answer is yes.
Velocipaster.
All the girls had gone to bed, and it was just my nephew and then my nephew-in-laws, I guess. So they're all 3 my nephews, but we were just like, what do we watch? And I said, man, I heard this thing called Velocipaster, and all 3 of them were like, well, now we have to watch it. So we watched it, and it is ridiculous, incredibly low budget. There was a scene where a car was supposed to be exploding or on fire, and instead of actual car on fire, it was just a blank parking spot, and a caption showed up that said VFX car on fire. literally what it's, and that set the tone for the rest of the movie. And it was one of those, it was just fun to laugh at. It's the only reason we watched it, kind of like mystery science theater type stuff. But great time. And then coming today and kind of hit the ground running. I was out of office Friday, so a lot of catch up emails to do and a lot of client stuff, helping people with their stores, Deco Network stores, so on and so forth. So it was a busy day for sure. In fact, there were a couple of times where Tate and I both were just like, it's 2:00. How did that happen? We didn't know. But yeah, so far so good as far as the weekend and the Monday. So the week started off on a good note. Because also, Travis, and for those listening, we finally have a website. Look at that. printondemandcast.com is where you can now go. You can see there's an episode archive, a little bit about your hosts here, of course, Travis and myself there. You can contact us, but be warned, if you contact us, you have to leave a dad joke. So come prepared. It's not required, but it's a bonus if you do. And then, of course, our merch store, which we do have merch for sale. You can shop the swag here. Pick up a t-shirt. Definitely the easiest way to support the show, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys want to kind of help us reinvest into what we're doing here at the Print on Demand cast. So yeah, that was exciting. It's done. It's done. It's live. So
it is live.
Done for
you
now.
Can go there.
We'll keep adding to it, but there was enough to finally make good on our promise that we would have a website, and info at Print on Demand cast would be working. So
exactly.
That's exciting. So also exciting is our guest for this week's episode. Travis, talk a little bit about how you found Josh and Ink and Drink Denver, and then we'll just go straight into this week's interview.
Yeah, I was actually, we talked to, we went to the Graphics Pro Expo a couple weeks ago. And while I was doing some, just kind of clicking around on their site, looking at their kind of education stuff, they were having local people share different things during their education portions of the show. And one of the things that we weren't there to see, but it was this Ink and Drink Denver.
Yeah.
Josh Kice from Ink and Drink. I'm like, what is this? And so I just literally put it in there in Google and click the button. And boy, was I surprised to see what I saw.
Pleasantly.
Yeah. It was a business model that I have thought about in the POD world for a long, long time. And we talk about this in the interview, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but suffice it to say, the ink part and the drink part coming together as one is a beautiful thing.
It's very true. And I'm very excited to let you guys talk to Josh. He definitely did. I mentioned it in the interview, but he is very much kind of a pioneering spirit type of guy. There's not a lot of proof of concept as far as this particular idea in conjunction with screen printing. There's Paint and Sip, which is not the same. Paint and Sip parties and stuff like that. But this is a really cool business model. And so I don't want to give too much away. I want to let you guys listen to Josh's story. So with that being said, we're just going to go straight into this week's main event, our interview with Josh Kice of Ink and Drink Denver.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, Travis, very excited for the guest that we have for this week's main event. Someone that you discovered their business within the last 2 weeks or so. You sent me a link and I thought, this is the most brilliant business model I've ever seen. And I'm really upset that we didn't think of it. So we'll just bring him on the show and learn all about it because it's fascinating. So for those listening, we have Josh Kice here with us of Ink and Drink Denver. So he's the owner and operator of Ink and Drink Denver, located in the Santa Fe Arts District of Denver. Nearly 10 years of screen printing, 10 years of experience has led him to create a new customer-based experience focused on printing t-shirts. Ink and Drink is a do-it-yourself t-shirt printing bar where customers have the opportunity to print their own unique shirts with their friends, family, and dates while sipping on their favorite beverages. And as any longtime listener knows, Travis and I enjoy our favorite beverages, and we enjoy t-shirt printing, which is why you can see we were just ripe with envy when we found out this amazing business model. But it's our pleasure to welcome to the Print on Demand cast, Josh Kice. Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to hop on the show and talk about Ink and Drink Denver.
Yeah, thank you guys for hosting me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Awesome, man.
Absolutely, man.
We told you at the outset when we sent out the initial inquiry and our correspondence back and forth to come with a dad joke because it is everyone's favorite segment. We've been recently making our guests join in on the insanity that is the Print on Demand cast. So with that being said, we're going to go straight into this week's weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right, Josh, you are the guest.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Pretty simple question. Just curious if you guys know of anything that's like brown and sticky all over.
Brown and sticky all over.
I may, but I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the.
Yeah,
the
no,
platform.
I genuinely don't know. I've never heard this question before.
Well, the answer is a stick.
All right, there it is. A stick is brown and sticky all over. You heard it here first, breaking all kinds of news and scoops. That's awesome.
Travis, did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard that
funny.
one before. It's very, very, I mean, that's high quality dad joke material though. So
Yeah,
kudos to you, Josh.
it reminded me of the what's black and white and red all over.
Mm-hmm.
A newspaper.
Or, yeah, we won't go down the other ones, but I remember there were other answers for that. So,
okay, well,
we'll save that for
right.
another segment.
Yes. Well, the listener is going to get treated to 3 dad jokes because, as you all know that were listening last week, and Josh, in case you didn't hear last week's episode, we were talking about apple pie in Jamaica and the Bahamas, basically the pirates of the Caribbean, and so we had to kind of stay in that kind of island tropical theme and thought we'd share a really bizarre law about Hawaii. You know, there's lots of laws that states have the whole website's dedicated to these very weird laws, but I didn't realize this. And Travis, you might want to know this because I know you and your wife are going to Hawaii next year for vacation. But did you realize that outbursts of laughter are actually illegal in Hawaii? Yeah.
That's
however,
hard to believe.
Well, however, they do permit a low ha.
Oh,
Weekly dad joke. That's a 3-for-1 special. You guys, you listeners, leave us a review, 5 stars for 3 dad jokes in 1 episode. A treat for the ears. So, with that being done and out of the way, let's move into the interview portion here, Josh. You mentioned in the bio that you have nearly 10 years of screen printing experience. So, our question to you as we kind of get things started here is, how did you find your way into the print industry 10 years ago? What did you do before that? What brought you to the industry nearly 10 years ago?
Yeah, I was actually in college when I started printing. I was looking for a summer job when I was coming back from Kansas for summer vacation, or not summer vacation, but summer break, and hadn't gotten anything lined up, was landing nowhere, trying to get into some design positions. And my dad, who's a Boulder firefighter, had a buddy of his that started a print company and was like, hey, go reach out to him and see if he's got any need for design work or production work. And luckily for me, he did. So, spent a summer printing and learning sort of ins and outs of basic screen printing and then how design ties into that as well. And then from there, actually became his full-time designer. And then when I was back on break, whether it was summer, Christmas break, or an extended spring break, whatever, I would jump in the shop and be on production as well. And that was, I guess it was 2013 probably that started. Okay. So yeah, not quite to 10 years yet, but well on my way, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that was during college. You said you talk about breaks and all of that. I'm just curious, what did you end up, or what were you going to college for, and what did you eventually get your degree in?
Yeah, so I originally went for studio arts and business double, and dropped off the business side, which nowadays I'm regretting a little bit, but stuck to studio arts with a focus in graphic design and sculpture, and minored in communications. And I went to a small school, so they didn't have a huge program. Didn't even have to submit like a portfolio, which I didn't have a portfolio to submit anyway. It worked out for me in the long run, and was actually one of the 2 pioneers. My art director and I were the 2 pioneers of the design program, being from like a design 1 through design 4 and advanced design after that. We're the only 2 that really showed interest initially, and they decided to build it for us, because that's sort of the wave of design in college, it seemed at the time. And so it's kind of fun to be the driving factor behind that a little bit, and have a chance to push the limits of what the school was allowing and sort of set our own curriculum that way.
That's awesome. Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Kansas at a small school called Benedictine College.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is that in Kansas? I'm originally from Kansas, so I was from Wichita, so I'm curious where that college is.
Yeah, it's in Atchison, which is like the northeast end of Kansas, about an hour north of Kansas City.
Okay, gotcha.
That's awesome.
So let's transition to the ink and drink side of your story. So you after college, I'm assuming you stayed kind of in that screen print world, or did you kind of go off and then come back to it, or what were you doing right before you decided to try this ink and drink concept?
Yeah, so I stayed with it for a little while, a couple of years out of college, and then was really trying to push the design side of my career a little bit more, and ended up doing art direction and app development for an automotive press fleet company, which was really neat to be in a different realm for a little while. And then from there, just sort of started hitting some odds and ends jobs, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and got into sales for industrial design for a while. And while I was doing that, came up with this idea and tried to develop a little bit of what ink and drink could be, and trying to do a little bit of market research, but because it's just sort of the first of its kind, there wasn't a ton of market research to do.
Yeah.
So I was really like grabbing at weeds, like there wasn't a ton to reference. So it took a long time of development and trying to figure it out and how it was going to work. But we're now 3 years down the road from the initial concept, and can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. It sounds like you definitely have kind of a pioneering spirit about you, from whether it's pioneering the graphic design program at your college or doing something that there isn't a lot of proof of concept for up until that point. That's incredible. So my next question would be then, where did the idea of Ink and Drink Denver come from? Because when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's like, my sisters love paint and sip, and they do that stuff all the time. And so that's where my mind initially went. Was that kind of the thing that sparked the idea of taking that same kind of model and applying it to t-shirt printing, or where did the original idea come from for Ink and Drink Denver?
Yeah, pretty close. I've been to paint and sips before, and I actually the thought sparked in my mind when I was looking at a position as a ceramics instructor. And the position was built for people who do not do ceramics, right? It's just a chance to engage people in creativity. And, I was like, well, I'm not super great at ceramics. So I don't know if I really qualify for this job. Is there something I would qualify for in teaching creative realm to people? And it was like, well, of course, screen printing, I've done it for so long. I feel like I can teach somebody something. And then from there, I was like, well, how can I make it more fun and engaging than just print a shirt, which is fun. Don't get me wrong. I can't say that it's not fun, because it is fun. But the easy answer is throw a bar in the mix, and it's everybody's favorite thing.
That's right.
Yeah, and immediately you have opportunities to do parties and events, and because everybody, when they're doing an event, they want to have a bar, like you say. So it immediately opens up a huge demographic that maybe just, hey, come print your shirts at our store. Maybe they don't, that demographic isn't going to necessarily come. But once you add alcohol into the mix, I feel like we should have a thing where it's podcasting and drinking, because we're really good at that.
Is there a master class for that, you think, that we can maybe just kind of do one of those master classes, Blue Moon in podcasting? I don't know.
I don't know. We need to look into that after the show.
We'll definitely have to see it. So you said you're just about at the 3-year mark of being open. How many people do you have working for you? Is it just you? How many people are working for you at Ink and Drink?
Yeah, so actually 3 years from concept to now, we've been in our space for just over a year. We opened slightly opened, I guess, in like November, December, started doing a lot of corporate events, like team building type of stuff, especially with people trying to get back into in person and engaged with like face-to-face interaction with their coworkers. So we've just been letting that sort of like take the cake and get us onto a roll in the meantime. And I think right now we have myself, my art director, silent partner, and then 8 like bartender instructor teammates.
Oh, cool.
And I'd say 4 or 5 of them are more consistently involved than the others. Which that's what we want. Like we want people to be as involved as they need to be, as like a supplemental income to them. So, you know, it's a really good level for us right now. And with us being a little bit slower at the moment too, it makes it like there's no pressure on me to be giving people hours just to fill their hours, you know.
So I'm assuming since you don't have, you know, like you said, pressure to put hours in, you're probably you're not doing any regular production out of the Ink and Drink space right now, are you? Or do you sometimes get orders from, say, a corporate event that came in and had a really great time, and then they say, hey, can you print us 500 shirts for our summer jam or something like that? Has that happened yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, a fair amount of our business right now is contract printing. And we have a few groups that like we're partnered with, I guess you want to call it, that we print their stuff for them all the time. We do design work for them all the time.
Nice.
And that's been really fun to develop that relationship and get a feel for like their aesthetic and push ours beyond what we normally would do. You know, just having that outside influence is always a beneficial thing to have.
Yeah. Is there any difference between having a production space and then having an event space? I mean, do you have to like, I mean, does that just mean that your production space is always really, really clean, or are there some other differences that I'm not thinking of?
I think because of our model of being like hand printed and like handmade type of vibe, we will probably never have auto machines in our business. So I think as far as like a potentially large scale production goes, that's maybe a comparison mark to utilize. But I would say that being clean is probably the biggest difference of like our space. And it doesn't mean we don't get dirty while we're printing. You know, like we do, but we have to make sure we clean up a little extra when we do. So.
That's our problem, Josiah, at Make Your Mark Design. We just need to open it up to let people come in and print their own stuff, and the shop will magically be clean.
Yes.
That's my biggest takeaway so far. So tell us a little bit more about kind of the differences between what you're doing in a traditional, you know, classic print shop. Like, how does the income production business model of Ink and Drink Denver differ from a classic print shop?
Yeah, I feel like the print industry, and especially in the last maybe 5-10 years, I guess since I've been in it, has become so competitive to being like as cheap as possible, as quick a turnaround as possible, and like it's just about getting product in and out the door.
Yeah.
And I feel like something that we're focusing on a little bit more is like the artistic quality of what screen printing can be. And with that, we operated a little bit higher margin than what I've seen at other shops that I've worked at before, which is great for me as a business owner, right? But it presents challenges in the same breath of customers who come in and they're so used to ordering an $8 T-shirt, and we're not able to provide that. We don't want to provide that because it feels like we don't have a chance to spend the time that we intend to spend on their print and their product, because all they care about is getting a quick turnaround. And there's function to that, right? There's always room for somebody to be looking for the cheapest product, because it's going to be something that they throw out at a conference or whatever, and they don't want to spend a bunch of money and a bunch of time on it. And we do, you know, that I think that's maybe something that has been an adjustment as far as our customer base goes, is educating them a little bit more on like, well, it's not just higher for the sake of being higher. It's higher because we are taking that extra time. We want to develop your brand and your look along with our skills and your product.
Sure. And has there been, what's that as far as success rate with that education? Because on our side of things, on the POD side, there's a little bit of that conversation as well, just because, like you said, people do expect that $8 shirt, but when you're printing one off, so you're only wanting 12 or they're only wanting, 8, we have to educate them a little bit more as far as why the cost is higher. And sometimes they grasp it, sometimes they don't. So in your experience, what's that success rate been like as far as that education process to try and make them understand why it's going to be a little bit more?
Yeah, there's good, bad, and the ugly to all of it, but I think that the main premise at Ink and Drink being educating about screen printing in the first place, it's given us a lot of chances to figure out when and where a deeper explanation is going to land and actually mean something, not just to us, but to the customer too, because, you get a group of young guys who's in here for a bachelor party. They don't care about screen printing. They don't care to be educated. They know everything. And to somebody like that, I can tell them hey, it's more expensive because of this. And I try to just skim the top of why.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And let them decide if it's worth it to understand that or not. And really taking a step back from jamming it down people's throats of it's this, that, and the other, and because this, that, and the other, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it sounds like that particular demographic is more interested in the drink side than the ink side of the business anyway. So, and I'm sure you have that experience. I mean, people, I'm sure, do treat it like the paint and sip, kind of experience. It's like, I've done that a bunch of times. Oh, here's another kind of cool experience. I get to learn a little bit about, screen printing. I get to go home with a cool shirt or two, and I get to drink all night with my friends. Not to kind of put it in a box, but is that a majority? Would you say that's a majority of your business? Kind of that person that's looking for that experience? Or would you say the production side is a majority of your business at this point? And is it skewing one way or the other as you move forward?
So I think right now, just because of some of the battles with the city on liquor licensing stuff right now, the production side and corporate event side is more where the business is currently, but we are trying to drive towards what you were talking about of being the consumer who's more interested in just the experience and and the bar side of I'm going to hang out with my friends and it just happens to be doing this cool and fun thing that we've never done before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll be 100% honest with you. I have thought about this business model a lot with print on demand, thinking we could open up a coffee shop, that people could come and kind of think Starbucks, but also why not make a shirt or a coffee mug or, or whatever we have there. And so I've thought about this business model a lot, and it's really cool to see somebody kind of taking the bull by the horns. You mentioned issues with the liquor license. Is that, can you speak a little bit more? What have been some of the issues that you've had? I'm assuming you guys are able to serve liquor. Is there a limit, or is it just certain kinds, or what are your issues that you're having with the city?
Yeah. So liquor is kind of a tough topic, everywhere you are, but Denver in particular is not super quick in response on liquor stuff. They don't seem to care a whole lot, if I'm being honest and blunt.
Sure.
So in privatized settings, we have a little bit more freedom to be serving liquor, which is why I was mentioning that we're doing corporate parties where we're shut down to the public. We can't take walk-ins. It's only the corporate group that's in here. Now the struggles have been that there was a tenant in here prior to us who cut their lease due to COVID, and their liquor license was active, and so we were trying to transfer the title of their liquor license into our name.
Okay.
And So this was last year about this time that we started working on this stuff. And the city was so backlogged on all their liquor license applications and renewals and all that stuff that it took so long to get all of our stuff situated and squared up and questions answered by the city that the license lapsed by the time we had our ducks in a row. That now we're like back to square zero and have to start fresh and apply for a whole brand new license, which then entails like neighborhood canvassing and public hearings and stuff like that. So it's elongated our timeline of what was supposed to be a quick transfer and operate, and then figure out nuances beyond that of, because liquor licensing, there's so many levels of like what liquor is allowed or what revenue streams need to be at what levels depending on the license that you have. So we were hoping to figure that out as we went, and we're going, so we are figuring out as we go. But we've not really been able to open in the way that we anticipated when we were first developing the idea.
Wow. Well, you know, me and Josiah, we'll do our. We can probably twist some arms downtown for you. We have some friends in high places.
We are just so connected. You know, it's like.
Thank you for that.
So if one day your liquor license just comes through,
I know who to call.
Yeah, it's absolutely us that did it for you.
So. Not the Ghostbusters this time, but
no, it's us.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you don't binge watch all 6 seasons of The Sopranos within a month and not learn a few things. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
So, let's talk a little bit about. You mentioned in your information that we kind of sent you a form, and for those listening, we actually do prepare. I think our listeners think this thing is entirely just by the seat of our pants. And not to say that it's not sometimes, but we sent you the form, and you had told us a little bit about Woohoo SPS or screen printing supplies, and it's another business that's working closely with you as well as a startup. Tell us what that's been like. How close do you guys work together? Do you have interest as far as ownership in that other business, or what's that kind of relationship look like?
Yeah, I would call them like our big brother.
Okay.
They're on the more established side of being a business and operations, but
sure.
Barry and Tammy are the ones that own it and run it, and they do such a great job of supplies and making sure that they get the right equipment for everybody's scenario. But we work really closely in that we also offer like industry-based courses for people who are trying to expand their prowess as a printer, or people who are trying to just get into printing and don't know where to start, because the University of YouTube is a great tool, except I feel like it just glamorizes this industry so much, and you don't see the struggles and the troubleshooting that goes into potential issues that come up while you're actually in production. So as far as like equity in each other's companies, no, but we do have like that brotherhood and that type of equity, the care for each other's businesses to try to help each other out, and then running those industry courses together has been so fun, and it's actually landed really well. And I was kind of nervous that like me, who I have almost 10 years of print experience, but people walk in and see me, they're like, "You're 15 years younger than I am. How can you teach me anything about screen printing?" It's like, well, I've done like so much in this industry, and I've done a lot, but the tag team of me and Barry together instructing them is, and Barry and I spend endless hours working on development and like product testing and stuff like that. And so we really have given ourselves a chance to be a little bit of a like validated voice in learning more in screen printing.
Awesome.
That's cool. Another one that you mentioned on your form was Animalscape, and tell the listeners about Animalscape. What's that?
Yeah, so Animalscapes is actually a series that we released as a retail purchase. So customers, when they come in and engage in this process with us, they're printing one-color designs, and most of the time it's from our catalog. Some people have submitted designs like ahead of time that we can do screen prep for them so that they have designs ready when they get here. But the Animalscapes is a chance for us to show off to the customers who have been here and working on, for us to be working on multiple color designs, multicolored prints, and show off like how halftones can overlay and cause this like different sort of viewership of a product. And the retail side is something that we've been pushing a lot lately too, in not being able to be open how we want to be and engaging customers here. Like, it's a chance to break into sort of a retail space, which we wanted to do anyway. It was just down the road once our name was established. And now we're sort of like trying to do it to establish some credibility to what we do, showing off a little bit more than what customers normally see when they're here, seeing our designs online or on our Instagram or whatever. And showing what the capabilities of screen printing are. And, TikTok and Instagram both are really powerful tools for this industry because it's such a visually based industry that like the video aspects of those platforms gives us a chance to show people what multicolor printing is like without having them sit here for, an hour and a half watching us register screens and do color checks and Pantone swatches and all that stuff. So it's a way to kind of push our credibility in this industry a little bit too.
Yeah, cool. I think on your website here I found that's an Animalscape.
There we go.
Is that correct? Yeah. So that's really incredible. All screen printed.
Correct.
But yeah, you can see the gradient like you were talking about, multicolor. Yeah, that's
cool.
That's incredible. Very cool. Very cool.
So Josh, why don't you while we're talking about kind of Ink and Drink and we have a couple more questions we're going to go with, but you had mentioned before you would be willing to give us kind of a quick shop tour or at least area tour of that area, because I see that really cool
astronaut
mural.
What is that back there?
Yeah, that mural back there. We got to get a closer look on that, and then maybe just kind of give us a quick shop tour.
Yeah, for sure. So front facing camera, which I was telling you guys before. This might be a little funky to make sure I get things in view, but so we were here and just had like a really like not great wall space, and the ceiling was black when we got in here. So it was like, well, how do we sort of like make the black function? So put this astronaut that then throughout the whole wall sort of, here we go. So throughout the whole wall just sort of keeps that theme.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
And we actually, this bottle right here is our ink bottle. It's a representation of our ink bottle, which I'll grab as well. But we just this past weekend put that in. It was a liquor bottle before. So then we used our ink tubes that we give out to customers as a reference to change that up a little bit. So that's our wall. And then in here we have our Vastex 1000s. We have 4 6x6 presses, 2 little 8-foot belt dryers, and then of course on the other side of the coin is
that's my favorite spot.
And then we have some food seating, some wall graphics, and things like that.
That's awesome.
So,
do you guys, are you able to serve food as well? Do you have a kitchen?
So we do have a like small kitchen, and I want nothing to do with food.
Makes sense.
That's a completely like a whole nother realm that is very regulated. But we are right next door to Smoking Yards Barbecue, which is one of the better barbecue joints in the Colorado area. Cool. They have one in Idaho Springs and then the one that's right next door. So we do cater their food over here a lot for, especially the corporate events who want to do like a one-stop dinner, drinks, activity type of thing. Yeah. Their barbecue, it slaps, as the kids say these days.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Okay, so let's we had talked about, we typically on these forums we ask, hey, what are some good topics we can maybe talk about? And one of the things you said, which I don't think anybody's ever asked or talked about this, but you said, hey, it would be a really cool discussion if we talked about what roles are required when starting a business. And I think that's something that our listeners could potentially gain something for. So, what was on your mind when you actually wrote that? Like, what kind of discussion do you want to have around that? What roles were required when you started your business? And let's just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that this can go back and forth a little bit, and you guys chime in some of your experiences in this topic too. But in particular for me, and I think a lot of people that are in like a trade industry who want to start their own business are really good at what they do, and they're just sick of doing it for other people, and they want to do it for themselves, which is valid and fruitful. You just have to understand that when you start a business, you're no longer that tradesman. You're a business man or woman. And it's really important to understand that has to now come first, right? And it was a challenge for me too. I try to read books. I try to listen to different podcasts and business owners, not just in this industry, but just like management styles and then even beyond like my role as an owner and business developer. Because we're such a small team, because we have so many different like niches going on, when I'm on the production floor and printing, I am still answering to our production manager as a printer, even though I'm the owner, right? But during that time when I'm in the role of printing, I'm answering to the production manager. And it's just such a weird juxtapose of like, I started, and I say I in this phrase in like the general sense, but I started my business because I'm really good at what I do and I want to do it for myself, but like we're no longer that tradesman. And the really neat thing for me about this business and Ink and Drink in particular is that I have an avenue to still be so connected to what I love and what I do and what I'm really good at. And then sharing that love with other people gives me a lot of gratification, but even more so like having a platform that my employees can do the same and have that same fulfillment, and the customers can come in and learn to love this as well. It's like, that's worth stepping away from being like the professional printer and being a business owner to me, and like having that role separation. And like all day I'll sit on my computer and take phone calls and all that just for the chance to have a company that allows that platform of sharing. I'll give up the printing love for the love of like sharing printing with others.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know what I can add to that. I mean, obviously, in my role as owner of Maker Mark Design, it's gone through so many different iterations over the years. I have learned how to be a business owner in different ways in every single one of those iterations. For a while we had a shop in Longmont, then we moved home, literally moved to my house, and I was outsourcing everything. And I only had one other employee. And then we had an opportunity to purchase a bunch of equipment, and I jumped, and we immediately hired 3 more people, day one, plus some temps. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And so in the last, nearly 2 years of being kind of in the current iteration of Maker Mark Design, I've learned a ton of things. I have learned, to your point, let the production manager understand all of the nuances of all the printing technologies, because we have 6 printing technologies that we use here. So I could not walk into the UV room and print something. Might be able to figure it out. It would take me a long time because I'd probably have to look up some YouTube. I know where to go to find the information that I need to, do the thing. But I'm not doing it every day, and I don't have to. I shouldn't be. Yeah. I have, to your point, I have, other things that maybe only I can do, so yeah, as far as like skill sets required to start a business, I think you need somebody that has vision, and I think you need somebody that has organization. And if you can combine those 2 things and you build on those things, you can, if you have somebody who has vision and you have organization, and then maybe you have a third, or maybe one of those 2 people has it, maybe that's the knowledge piece, the printing side or the actual knowledge of what you're doing. But if you can combine the organization and the future vision, you can accomplish a lot. So for me, I have, a business operations manager who's Amy. She's kind of the organizational part of it. And then Tate, he's my production manager. He's the knowledge part of it. And then I'm the vision part of it. Josiah is, he's kind of bolted on. He's the sales part of it, so he's going out and he's bringing more people in. He also has some production experience because he came from another shop that had been doing it for several years as well. And then we have our actual production techs that have the knowledge in each of those different spaces. And so if there's something coming up with embroidery, I'm not going to answer that technical problem or question. I'm going immediately to her or to my production manager and saying, what do we do here? What are your thoughts? Do we need thicker needles to go through this material, or what do we do? Will you just send me that? I'll buy the needles if you want me to. Just send me the link to the thing I need. It becomes very collaborative very quickly when there's too many things. There's too many plates. There's just too many plates, to your point, and so you really do need to kind of try the best you can to stay in your lane while encouraging your fellow, your team to excel in their lane.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And I don't think I have anything to add to that necessarily, but Josh, I know, we wanted to give you an opportunity to ask us questions, since we're more on a print on demand side of things, digital printing, you're more from screen printing. So do you have any questions for us from a POD perspective, just about the industry, anything really? I guess not even about POD. Any questions?
Yeah, fair. I think one of the main questions is sort of, do you guys see a potential in like this business model translating to what you guys do? And Travis, we sort of jumped into that a little bit there for a minute, and what would it look like from your perspective to have a customer engaged enough that they feel like they created a product in your guys' realm, maybe compared to or not compared to my realm?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're asking the visionary if he has any vision. Fair. I'm just teasing, but yes, for the longest time, I have one of my, maybe retirement plans or something like that would be to open some type of a retail store that had kind of a lot of things that you could buy, maybe do it in a high touristy area, Louisville, Longmont, Lafayette, even maybe Estes Park or something, Boulder, wherever, have a shop that had like kind of all the normal trinkets that you can buy at all the other stores, but have a DTG machine in there and have a kiosk that has like 100 different designs. You go into the Estes Park shop and they've got all of those designs all on the wall that you can go, okay, I want number 26 on a shirt. Well, I want to do number 26, but I want to put your name on it also, and having the ability to add that custom element while they're there. Now, you're really blowing my mind if all of a sudden we can drink while we're doing it, but I think at the very, the minimum is to bring that customization, that instant customization. We talked about it, I think last week we were talking about doing art, farm and art markets. And there's a vendor that we know of that has the ability, you can come up to, you can basically buy this package or whatever that retailizes I'm putting that in air quotes because it's not a word. B, I'm trying to explain something that's kind of hard to explain, but basically if you have a picture on your phone, I can put it on a coffee mug or a phone case or whatever, and all you're doing is setting up a network and transferring it to me on the network, and then I print it and then I put it on something. I want to do that. I want to be involved in the, hey, customer, check this out. You think that's cool? come over here. You can also do this. I think that is so rewarding for me to be able to work with them and provide them an opportunity to create something that's totally unique to them. And then it's incredibly valuable and unique to them because it's their thing. It's their customized item.
Yeah.
And then they get to participate in, hey, push the button or whatever. They have the experience. So it's combining all of those things. So I definitely think it can work with print on demand 100%.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Like Travis was saying, doing, especially with UV printing, which is one of the processes we use here, that is just, there's so much you can do with UV. And I think one of the moments that I had was at an SGIA in Las Vegas, industry trade show, and that a UV printer set up. And to Travis's point, it was, hey, do you have a picture that you would like to have printed on any of these substrates? There's a blank journal, there's a blank phone case, there's a blank whatever. And so I took one of my wife and I's wedding pictures, airdropped it to his iPad, printed it on a journal right then and there. He gave it to me, and I was like, it's giving the customer an Etsy experience, but in a brick and mortar store is basically the best way that I can use to describe it. But I do think there's a lot of validity to that. And even, again, instructional, teaching people how to, I think with mugs, sublimation might be a lot easier to teach, I guess, as far as what we have here. That might be more interactive, other than place the shirt, push the button. It's wrap the mug, put it on the heat press, unpeel it. That's more maybe instructional, but overall that idea of customization on the go immediately, I like Travis said, I think it has a huge potential for the POD space.
So I think what we're saying, Josh, is ink and drink north. Huh?
You let me know when you're ready for that.
All right, yeah, we will. You get your liquor license stuff figured out, and maybe.
We need to. I think we need to start by just going to Ink and Drink and doing it and having a good time and hanging out and making a shirt. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah,
it'd be good to go. Any other questions before we hit you with our magic questions, Josh?
Man, probably 5 once we're done with this. But right now I'm blanking.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, let's go to what we do with every guest called the Magic Questions.
Just
Brings
magical.
a tear to my eye every time. So we'll go with 3 questions here. Travis, why don't you take the first one out of the list here, and then I'll go next.
Okay. Why don't you, Josh, tell us about a time when something happened in your business that felt like a complete and total failure. You were just done. Just give us that story. And maybe it didn't totally destroy you. I'm assuming it didn't because you're sitting in your space. But man, it hurt and it felt like a total failure.
Honestly, probably the liquor license not getting transferred before it lapsed. And it hurt. It was something that you feel like, how do you come back from? But after talking with our licensing law team, you have that realization that it's not all bad. There was a tavern license here before, and we're doing a lodging and entertainment license that fits our business model a lot better. So yeah, it definitely hurts, but once you have a chance to take a breath and take a step away, you can really come back and hit the ground running, and sometimes and often a better route.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So what I thought I heard you say is that the former license that you were trying to renew was a tavern license, and when that lapsed, you decided to go for this other license that fits your business better. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the new one is called the lodging and entertainment license, and the only difference, they both allow beer, wine, and liquor. The only difference is that in a tavern license, 50% or more of your gross annual revenue has to come from the bar. And the lodging and entertainment side, 50% or more of your gross annual revenue comes from the entertainment side of what you do.
Okay. So that allows you to have that production piece really firing on all cylinders and not worried about, oh, we're not selling enough beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
and even like you consider the market price of a t-shirt and a drink, even if somebody is here and does both,
Yeah.
they'd have to be purchasing like 3 or 4 drinks to match the price of their one t-shirt.
Right.
And then we're in a ballpark of like, well, are we over serving every guest just to hit this marcation of like we have to have 50% bar sales to our product sales? And so it definitely has released that tension of worry.
You don't have to put signs up that say not responsible for bad shirt being made while intoxicated on 4 drink minimum requirement.
Yes.
4 drink minimum.
Which, honestly, we've actually had really good success. There's been very, very few misprints in here. And the few that have been made, people are like, it's even more custom. I love it that much more.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Sometimes, and a blurry print with blurry vision, maybe it looks perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The customer has more grace when they make the mistake on the print, whereas opposed we make a mistake on the reprint.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Print, and it's all cylinders. So you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but talk to me, or us rather. We always pretend like it's just the 3 of us talking. There's no one else here. No one's going to hear this. Throughout your career, throughout your time in the industry, tell us about like how the importance of mentoring and relationships have been for you, and do you have any kind of go-to mentors that have kind of really helped you throughout your journey in the print industry?
Yes. I mean, mentors, you can find them in any avenue that you want to. Barry with Woohoo has been a huge mentor, and just, a sounding board. And that, I hope that he would also say this, but I think it goes both ways for each of us too, because, he's not super involved in print world. So when he needs a product tested, a new ink or whatever, he comes here and I test it for him and I give him feedback on that product. And then, I ask him about different emulsion and the technical side to why this exposure for this emulsion is better, and et cetera. And so he's been a really great resource for me, huge mentor. And then I also, I have really enjoyed the chance to be a mentor to others too. My art director, he's been a good friend of mine for a long time. He was actually in my wedding. He was part of my wedding party, and I think that I've been, to an extent, a mentor to him as well, and really given him a platform to push his art, his abilities in the art world and graphic design. And we partner with Wagwan Brewing Company, who's a local brewer in the Santa Fe Arts District, and he, through having his job here, has gotten to do not just apparel design, but also their labeling design and some branding stuff with them too. So
awesome.
Being in a position to give him that platform has been really impactful in my life as well.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do one more. Okay. So here's one. How about this? What is your favorite podcast and why is it the Print on Demand cast? No, I'm just kidding. That's not the question. No, the question, sorry. If you had to start all over and lost all your current contacts, what would you do first?
And I lost all my contacts, man.
After you finished crying.
Yeah, I'd probably grab a beer, throw that back, and let that decide my next move. I really, that's a hard question to answer. I think it's if you have a skill set to lean back on, using that to probably just get your mentality back, feeling like you have the capability of doing more than just what you need to do, pushing into the realm of what you want to do because of your experience and your knowledge, I think would be somewhere to start. I don't know if it's the right place to start, but it's somewhere to start, I think.
Sure. That's awesome. Well, Josh, it's been great chatting with you. It's been great to hear your story, to learn more about Ink and Drink Denver. I do think that Travis and I need to make a voyage down to your neck of the woods and participate. And because neither of us have ever screen printed. At least I don't think you have, Travis. I don't think either of us have it. So it'd be really fun to learn that trade, or that, at least that aspect of the business, because we seem to do
we want to
everything
learn the
else.
whole trade in a 2-hour span, please.
I got you covered.
Yeah,
Okay.
how much is that? It's an immersive package that we spend the next 6 months with you. And then you lose your sanity from all the really bad dad jokes. So before we let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to tell those listening where they can find your shop on the internet, on social media, where they can find you, follow you. So plug your shop, and before we let you go.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Everything for us is Ink and Drink Denver. So inkanddrinkdenver.com. Our social handles for Instagram, TikTok are Ink and Drink Denver. You can find us if you want to drop in person. Feel free. We're at 900 West 1st Avenue in the Santa Fe Arts District, in a little shopette called The Yard. Come in, grab some barbecue from Smoking Yards too. Make it a full-blown experience. But
yes.
Yeah, hope to see you guys interacting with us on social media or in person, hopefully here soon as well.
Awesome. And for those listening, as always, we will drop those links in the show notes so you can have access to Ink and Drink Denver at just a click, or a tap rather, of your screen. And you can connect with Josh, and if you have any questions, you can ask him. If you want to, book an event there, if you're in the Denver area, please do. I'm serious when I say I'm looking forward to trying this out myself. I think it would be a really fun time. So, Josh, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and hopefully we will be able to connect soon, my friend.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk soon. Want to thank Josh one more time for coming on the show, taking time out of his schedule from teaching the masses, and by masses, not the public yet because of that liquor license, but those that reserve a spot and a session, teaching them the art of screen printing. Travis, it was really cool to hear his story, and I mean, it didn't do anything to satiate, or to quell rather, the jealousy that you and I both have as to his ability to capitalize on such a cool business model idea.
Yeah, I remember before the show, we were talking about how we have like all this respect for him for, done this, really cool business model, and like kind of pioneer this thing, but there's just a teeny tiny bit of hatred on top of it, because we're just really angry that he did it before we did. But no, of course, really excited to see him kind of go through all of these challenges, but he's still plugging ahead. And I think that's, one of the things we didn't really talk about in the interview, but one of the takeaways I think you can get pretty easily from the interview is that not getting that liquor license renewed is a huge blow to his business model, but he's pivoted, and he's moving towards, he's utilizing the space in new ways through production and whatnot. And then just biding his time until he actually does, finally get that liquor license. And in the meantime, he has the private stuff, and he's promoting that. And so he's persevering, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I really appreciated that about him. He's not one to easily give up.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the industry itself, print on demand, or screen printing, or just the print industry in general, there's plenty to provide. There's plenty of things that can happen to provide you motivation to quit. Let alone adding something else at a governmental level, or a municipality level of the bureaucracy and the red tape of liquor license and all these other things that you have to kind of go through that doesn't really even have to do with the business model or the business industry that you are currently, involved in. It has nothing to do with printing or anything like that. Liquor licenses are completely separate. So it's something where combining two things definitely provides another layer of stress, and just trying to figure things out so you can make the money that you need to make in order to make the business viable. Like he said, he's only a year in that space. It's 3 years from concept, but it's his first year. And so there's lots of pressure for that first year to be, as profitable as possible. I think if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, or if you've ran a business, you know that a new business, it takes a little bit of time to get into the black on a consistent level, but just to be able to come to a space where you can say your first year was a success is hard enough without compiling something that could be blocking that has nothing to do with your ability or skill in your given trade. So Kudos to him. Like you said, he's definitely tenacious and perseveres. And so it's definitely admirable. And I'm serious. It would be really fun to figure out, get a group of friends together and just go do a group thing. I think you and I have enough friends in common that we could find a group of people to go make some t-shirts. It would be a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, for sure. I would thoroughly enjoy that. He talked about, I don't know if you mentioned this on the air, but they do First Friday because that district, the Santa Fe Arts District, does a First Friday art walk. And so they open their doors and you can come in on a Friday. So if you're local to Denver and you're kind of in that area, check them out on a First Friday and go make a shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to thank Josh once again. And again, you can find him on social media on the internet. On his website's inkanddrinkdenver.com. He's on Instagram, Ink and Drink Denver, TikTok, Ink and Drink Denver. Go check him out, throw him a follow. Even if you're not in the air, just support him because you're a listener to the podcast. And he came on and told his story, which is always awesome for when people want to come in and kind of just impart their knowledge and what their journey has been up into this point. So with that being said, we would like to thank you guys for listening. Once again, Travis realized that we are just encroaching dangerously close to episode 100 and the 2-year mark of the show. So with that being said, let us know what you'd like to see for episode 200 or episode 100 or the 2-year anniversary. Maybe another live. We don't know, but you can tell us what you'd like to see, and you can actually email info@printondemandcast.com. That email is now working. We will see it. We will respond to it. So let us know what you guys want to see. Another way you can let us know and interact with us, whether it's what you want to see for the anniversary show or the 100th episode, or if you have a question for Josh or question for us, Facebook or printondemandcast.com/Facebook. I got into the habit of not saying it the correct way. But now we can say it the correct way because all the links are fixed. So printondemandcast.com/Facebook is where you can join the Facebook group, join the conversation, the community, and we would love to have you there as well. I don't have fancy bumpers for this particular, or overlays, I should say, for these next two, but we're also on Instagram. printondemandcast.com/Instagram. You can go and find us there, follow us, look at the content there. You can DM us there as well, or printondemandcast.com/YouTube. You can find these video episodes or video versions of these episodes every Friday at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And if you don't want to wait until Friday, you can watch us and listen to us on Spotify. The videos will be there on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. But we are wherever podcasts are. The PODcast is there for you too. So whatever your favorite platform is, whether it's Apple or Google or Spotify or Stitcher, whatever that looks like, we are there for you. And if you wouldn't mind doing us a favor and leaving a review, if you're listening on the podcast app, you can leave a 5-star review and give us some feedback. If you're listening to Spotify, you can just give us a 5-star review. But if you do that, we will definitely be sure to shout you out if you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, at least, because Spotify, there's really no way to tell who said what or who rated what, rather. But the podcast app, we can definitely tell. So if you like this information, if you think this information is beneficial, if the dad jokes make you laugh, if you think other people need to know about this podcast that are in the industry, that are looking for a place where they can learn about print on demand, send them our way and then leave a review and 5 stars, of course. That's just assumed. I'm going to stop saying 5 stars. I'm just going to say leave us a review because I'm assuming that by now, by episode 88, you know what to do. So with all that being said, Travis, anything else before we wrap this up?
Nope, you've said enough, my friend.
I certainly have. I've said a lot. So with that being said, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.